Steve Borelli from Sprague Energy. We've been the MRA's energy partner for just shy of 25 years now. So Sprague was actually, we originated in 1870 right here in Boston Harbor selling whale oil. I know that in the restaurant industry, of course, you appreciate shopping local, so it doesn't really get much more local than that. We, of course, represent the natural gas and electricity division at Sprague, although we have, as you can see, many different markets, many different industries. You likely drove past, we have 2 terminals in Quincy that you likely passed on your way here. So the reason we work so heavily with restaurants virtually all over the Northeast is restaurants are very big users of energy, but more importantly, very unique users of energy. You're using your energy year-round, whereas most businesses are not. Also, you are using them 24 hours a day, all your walk-in freezers, your coolers, your bars, everything. So it requires much more attention to detail. The main goal of Sprague is, rather than just bring you energy rates and see where they go from there, is this is an industry that really needs to be monitored on a daily basis, around the clock. The whole goal of working with Sprague is it's an entire file that you're taking off of your desk, putting on ours, and you're giving it to the experts saying, I need to run my business, I need to get people through the door, I need to get hot hamburgers and cold beers on the tables. This is something that I just don't have time for. Our goal is to monitor the markets on your behalf, make sure your energy is as secure and as cheap as possible, and then do everything we can to go ahead and make sure that this is a fixed line item on your P&L reports. At Sprague, we are very, same as all restaurants, we're relationship driven. So you're not getting 1-800 numbers, you're not getting info at emails, you're getting a specific dedicated rep. If it's not myself, it would be likely somebody out of our New England headquarters, which is right here in Westboro, so that's somebody who can be on site in your restaurant whenever needed. You would have access to our entire portal, which is mysprague.com, where you can access all your information, all your billing, all your contracts. You can also reach out to whichever department internally you might need to speak with. And again, you're getting somebody in person who you're always going to be able to reach directly. So as far as why we work so closely with the MRA, obviously every restaurant's different. You're a single unit operator versus your multi-unit operator versus your chains. All of them need to be handled differently. No 2 restaurants are the same. There's going to be a different game plan, if you will, for every customer. That's something that, of course, your rep and yourself are going to go over what works best for you, what you're more comfortable with, but also what's going to be most effective, because oftentimes what's simplest is not the best approach. So this is something which you're going to work as a team, and you are going to basically navigate the waters together, if you will. And to get started, it is very simple. All we need on your end is you can get us over a copy of your gas and electric bills. We can go ahead and see exactly what you have going on, what your options are, what our recommendations are. You have your own email address, which is just very simple, mra@spragueenergy.com. Once you get those over to us, we will do everything on our end, come to you and say, this is the position you're in, this is what it means, these are all of your options, and then of course we will give you our recommendations moving forward. And aside from that, just a very quick market update. As obviously we see, we are in the middle of one of the coldest winters in record. We are seeing record energy prices. Virtually, this is just a perfect storm of having a cold December that early in the year that caused us to basically just start blowing through our supply of natural gas. We got hit with the same cold that the rest of the country did, which is something we don't normally see. So we're in a position where we, obviously in New England, we don't have the infrastructure to get the gas up to us when we need it, when the cold hits. We are now fighting over the same gas that other regions are. Something which was very shocking for all of us generally, because the other thing with natural gas is not only are we using it to heat, we're using it to power electricity. Electricity production in New England, we're seeing numbers we've never seen before because oil has recently surpassed natural gas on these cold days. Generally, oil makes up about 1% of electricity production. Oil made up close to 35 over these cold snaps, whereas natural gas brought down to, I believe it was 32%. Main reason for that is obviously the state of Massachusetts have taken the steps with renewables, and when you have an instance like we just had with the bomb cyclone storm, as they called it, severe overcast, so you're not getting those UV rays anyway, and then all of the solar panels, which obviously with very large investments, were covered in snow. So now we're in a position where basically just had to go back to what works, flip the switch, and turn on oil. So now we have a lot of electric suppliers who are basically trying to figure out what we're going to do moving forward. And this is probably one of the winters that's going to go down for record utility rates coming up because, of course, they have to go ahead and start recouping all the losses that they've taken over the past few weeks. And to top it all off, it's only February 3rd, so there's plenty of winter left and cold to come.
Steve, what's going on with the governor and the extrapolation of the cost? And I think you and I have a sidebar conversation that we're going to end up paying it anyways. She's just going to push it out. Is that what's happening?
So the most recent articles I've read, what they're looking at is something similar to what they did, I believe it was 2 years ago, 15% reduction rate, if I'm going that correctly. Essentially what that means is rather than either spiking the rates moving forward, because of course, as we see the market volatility, generally the utilities will readjust upward. To save the pain on that, what they would do is give the, if you want to call it a quote, 15% reduction. That would be bringing the immediate rates down, pushing those costs off to be recouped in the off season, which of course means either pushing it out to next winter, which means if, say, next winter, for the sake of numbers, they were going to start at, say, $1 a therm, they would now be starting at, say, $1.10 per therm. Or rather than the summer rate seeing a little bit of relief in the energy rates then, they would take those rates and just essentially inflate them to make up those costs. Which, of course, when you look at restaurateurs, there's, if you look at the businesses around us, right, the hotels aren't burning much natural gas over the summers, very minimal, basically just for cooking and some water heaters. But if they were to go ahead and pass those costs off to the summer rates, that would put the restaurants in the area in the position of, well, you know, the hotel got the break in the winter, now I basically have to pay the bill and pick up the slack in the off season because they're cooking year round. Okay.
Thanks.
Any questions?
Nice job, Mr. Rowe.
Thank you.